Sunday services these first 4 weeks of January have been dedicated to the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind textbook. The first week was what it is, the thing itself. Last week, the second week, was The Way It Works, book by John Boyle. This week is what it does. And keep coming, because next week you learn how to use it. The it that we are talking about is the originating power that descends into consciousness, all consciousness. We do not have to energize this power, for this power is the very essence of all energy. We are all this one energy. We're all interconnected. We are that one in our own individualized expression. Its nature is to manifest our word, or rather in common day talking, it creates into form what we believe. It will always remain true to its nature. Its nature is truth, power, peace, light, life, love, beauty, and joy. It is in us. It has to work. We do not have to wonder whether it will work or if it's working. It has to work. Listen to this supporting quote from the book 365 Science of Mind. The power of life within you is a spiritual power, able to bring you permanent peace, increasing happiness and joy, and greater material abundance. These things that have made man miserable can be eliminated through the conscious use of power. God could not visit fear or hate or impoverishment upon us, because God transcends these things. God within us helps us move through whatever that appearance is and co-create something new. What does the power of life within each of us do? Well, here's a quote from Dr. Fred Vogt of Mile High Church. It changes lives. It changes them drastically and dramatically. It provides us with a scientific method of doing so. It eliminates unwanted elements from life and produces ever-increasing good. It picks us up, turns us around to face forward the light and our good, and provides confidence and strength for the journey of life. That's what it does. So this all sounds good, but wow, how do we fit into this as individual people living a life of this, that, and the other? Well, we fit into this by knowing and remembering that we are never separate from an infinite source, and that all we can imagine that source is in us. Or we wouldn't see it. We wouldn't recognize it. If I admire beauty somewhere, I see that beauty because the beauty already exists in me. If I admire somebody's poise, grace, intelligence, it really isn't out there. I see it because it's in me. For instance, if we carry an old belief that God is a punitive God, there's a belief or a habit in our outpicturing of how we're living our lives in the world. Do you see yourself as being judgmental, easily provoked to act unkind, and quick to punish others or to punish yourself for mistakes? Well, the good news is that's our first step, is to become conscious, to be aware of that process in our everyday living. A more greater, gentler example of this story is the story I recently heard. Picture this beautiful, large statue. I see it as white. I don't know if it's marble, but it's surrounded by greenery and shrubs. And it attracts pigeons. Walter's favorite place, at least twice a week, is to go to the statue where he can be quiet and meditative and serene. He visits at least 2 times a week. However, the pigeons would poop on his hat, his jersey, long sleeves, and shirt, and any part of him that was beneath the pigeons, because pigeons do what pigeons do. Well, Walter would cuss the pigeons for pooping on his hat, his clothes, his shoes, yet he kept coming back. And he got pooped on, because pigeons do what pigeons do. Yes, this man kept doing what he'd always done, and he kept getting the same results, limited only by his consciousness. God provides infinite possibilities. What else could have happened here? The man could have done spiritual mind treatment, knowing and affirming that he could continue to contemplate and meditate in a beautiful place of quiet. He could have released his free will and turned it over to God to show him the way, accepting a perfect manifestation. Perhaps he could have carried an umbrella over his head, even on a sunny day, as a human solution. However, in turning the situation over to Spirit through divine guidance and a willingness to see and accept a solution, over a couple of days he noticed a different, comforting place of quiet and peace, available for his visits as he let go of his previous choice and behavior of sitting under the statue. Quoted from the Science of Mind text, "We are surrounded by a mind or an intelligence that knows everything. This potential knowledge of all things exists in mind, that infinite mind that surrounds us all. And we also exist in this mind, and we may draw from it, but what we draw from it, we must draw through us as a channel of our own human use of mind. So the mind that we think of that is our mind is really how we use that greater mind that provides so much more if we can open up with willingness of something we can't see, something we can't hear, and know that it exists for us. The good exists for us. A solution exists for us. There is always so much more. So what this means is that Spirit imparts to us only what we can partake of its nature. Spirit can tell us only what we can understand. Do we all understand the same things? I don't think so. If all the wisdom in the universe were poured over us, we would receive only that which we're ready to understand in that moment. That's why some draw one type of knowledge and some draw another. The scientist discovers principles of science. The artist embodies the spirit of art. The saint draws Christ into its being, all because each has courted the particular presence of some definite concept. Each state of consciousness taps into the same source, the one mind, but has a different receptivity. It lets us see that the problems of life are like the dark side of the moon needing light of truth, the truth of God within us, to dissolve those appearances into nothingness. And then that inner light can shine through us as a pathway of something better. We get ourselves lined up through prayer treatments, through meditations, affirmations, and correct thinking of truth, so that we can receive this infinite intelligence into our life experiences. We download God into our operating system through conscious, consistent spiritual practice, to the degree that we experience greater success in all of our lives. Now, if you have a belief hidden from awareness, such as the belief that I or you are inadequate, undeserving, not good enough in some way, these aren't necessarily beliefs that we think every day, but they're core beliefs that over time, over years, up being raised, having experienced that there's a belief that we've held on to, and it out pictures and things as they appear in our life. If we have that belief, then divine intelligence, that higher thought, cannot express through us. Why? Not because it's not ready, willing, or able, but because our receiving dock is closed to receiving. I can just imagine this big loading dock, and we place an order for what we want. I want a loving, harmonious relationship. And then the universe wheels up with this big, huge cargo crate filled with all that we want. And the receiving dock is closed. We don't believe we can have it. We don't believe we can keep it. We don't believe we deserve it. And there's a responding law of mind that says yes. In this case, the law says yes, you can't have it, you can't keep it, and you don't deserve it. Change your beliefs, change your life. Gandhi said we succeed when what we think and what we say and what we do are all lined up. Sometimes life feels like a spiritual boot camp. We are called upon to draw every bit of truth we can from some deep place within us in order to meet the challenges of our day. We all have challenges. We all have challenges. That's how we develop our spiritual muscle. If we were to just sit around without any challenges, we'd grow weak. So we create challenges for ourselves. We exercise to create resistance so that our bodies can be strong. We play games to test our wits and strengthen our mind and bodies. We travel to new places and strengthen our adaptability and our flexibility. We meet new people with entirely different perspectives on life, and we learn from them. There's never a challenge that we are given that doesn't have the answer within us in oneness with Spirit. God's will, not our will. I know I sometimes get turned off when I hear that cliche, oh, you never have any challenge that you can't meet. It's like, really? You can't meet it alone. You meet it with that higher power that is here. You turn towards it. You turn towards it because you've spent time coming here Sundays, going to classes, learning how to use it. We have a power within us that is greater than any challenge, and we must consciously turn towards it. We cannot manipulate the answer, what it will look like. Outcomes may differ from what we hope, but they're divine answers that are for the greater good for all concerned, even when we may not be able to see the answers from that perspective. When we learn to trust the universe, we know that good is coming forth. One of the principles of successful living is that our thoughts and our action must tend towards a constructive purpose if it is to eventually succeed. We cannot fight the universe and win. It refuses to be budged off its course. We are the ones that must change and conform to the universe. The universe is like a lighthouse in our lives. We can't storm the gates of heaven to get in. We can't force, bully, or intimidate. We can't complain and whine expecting different results. We can complain and whine all we want, but that doesn't change the results. Sooner or later, we have to realize that we're up against the lighthouse, and we have to change our course. We have to change what we're thinking, saying, or doing. Nothing else is going to work. We're living in a friendly universe that's on our side, and it's ready to download all the good we can possibly ever use. It's backing up to the receiving dock of our lives right now, with our health, our prosperity, our happiness, all good in a divine sort of way. Not necessarily the way we think we'd like it to look, but a divine way that is greater and leads to something that we can't imagine yet. We have to know that our good is ours and we can have it. We have to know that the universe gives it freely. This is what it does. It can't be forced or cajoled or manipulated in any way, and we have to know ourselves and all others as powerful, creative, spiritual beings without exception. No matter who's in front of you, whether they're in your face or they're over there at the store with an argument, we are all spiritual beings without exception, and we have to let our faith neutralize all doubt. So recently, these past 2 weeks, I've had a personal experience. I've been called away to Las Vegas for the past 2 weeks for a family medical emergency. And I know that I have been divinely guided how to support my family. And I did many things in giving this support that I had no previous experience. I lacked my comfort zone that I'm most often relying on. Spirit and spiritual practice grew me to meet the challenges and move through what otherwise might have stopped me with fear. Probably and might have and probably would have paralyzed me. But I did what I had to do. And in this process, I've come out with a new level of knowing. I'm knowing I can do anything because I've really strengthened that relationship with Spirit. It's not meaning that I won't feel anxious. Yeah, I can allow fear to get in my way now and then. You know, that's part of my comfort zone. During this time, I had a lot of time to absorb myself in knowing Spirit and observing what it does. This is what it does. It provides an avenue of good. It provides infinite possibilities as we align ourselves with Spirit. We are one. That which I can call my God to be, what I can know it to be, is in me. We are one. We're not separate. I remember that when I need to. It is the atmosphere of love, peace, power in and through and all around each and every one of us. It creatively responds to what we truly believe and are willing to believe, bringing that belief into form, possibly a new form. In order to fully receive what it does, we must do our part. It is up to us to turn towards it with a willingness and an acceptance. Turn towards it with faith and trust for what we cannot see in the present moment. In faith, we know all things are possible with God. In surrender, we trust Spirit to guide us one moment at a time. That's what my last 2 weeks have been. A really deep awareness of one moment at a time. We feel our feelings. We continue to trust an open willingness to change our mind. In summary, this is what it does through universal law. It takes the impress of our thoughts and beliefs and mirrors them right back to us. And this is a gift. We can take the reflection and let it show us how to change and align with what is true in the spiritual nature of truth, or we can stay in a victim mode and play ain't it awful game. When something happens to us for the first time, we may be a victim. When it keeps happening over and over again, we become volunteers. But we don't have to continue to do that. We can let it change us, turn us around, and face us towards the light. It can provide us with strength, confidence for the journey of life. Life is a journey. What I see now is part of what is yet to be. It is a journey. It changes, it shifts, it changes. We can see our problems as the dark side of the moon, needing only the light of the truth of God within us, to dissolve those appearances and those problems in our lives into the nothingness from which they came. And then that inner light can shine on our pathway more and more until we have a total awareness of our at-one-ment with God and all life. In oneness with Spirit, all things are possible. And I will now close with this affirmation. There is a power for good in this universe, greater than I am, and I say yes to its perfect expression through me. This is what it does.